Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Trevor with Maker Experiment, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to make a jig for laser engraving. Let's get into it. There's a lot of reasons why you might use a jig for your laser engraving projects. One could be that you pre-engraved a bunch of items and you want to be able to put them back in the same place to add a name or customize it in some way. Another example would be wanting to engrave multiple items at once in more of a production style run so that it's repeatable and fast to set up. And other times it could be for oddly shaped projects where it's hard to line up or center something, and jigs can really come in handy. In this video, I'm going to walk you through step by step how I make a jig for engraving cork coasters. Now, this is a simple object that all you have to do is measure the diameter. There are other objects that are a little bit more complex, but I wanted to start with an easy project that is a common shape that you will see amongst a lot of items. The first step to creating any jig is setting up the design, so let's hop over to the computer and I will show you exactly how I do it. As you can see on my screen, these are the designs that I want to use. Halloween is coming up this week. Now the video is probably going to come out after Halloween, but I want to use these designs for this project. So what I'm going to do is take these and drag them off of my artboard for now, because the first step in creating a jig is actually making the outline for the product. In this case, I'm going to be using this cork coaster. Because this is a simpler item, I can just take the coaster and measure it with a dial caliper and get the diameter of it in order to make the design. So all I'm gonna do is take my dial caliper, put it onto the coaster like so, and it might be hard to read this, but it's around 3.55, and this is in inches. Depending on the product, you may want to account for kerf. In this case, I'm just gonna use that 3.55 measurement directly. For all of my cutting elements, I always like to use red. So the first thing I'm gonna do is go over to my color and change that to red. And I'm gonna make sure that it's on the outline, not the fill. The second step for me is I'm going to click on the ellipse tool, and I'm just going to click on my page, and I'm going to make it 3.55 by 3.55 and click OK. And you will see a circle that will represent my coaster. What I do then is I always drag that up to the top left corner of my page to about there. And this will become the first coaster in the set of my designs. When I create a jig, I always try to use a full sheet so that I can set it up for production runs in the event that I want to do that. When creating a jig, you can use all different kinds of materials. It's all going to depend on how long you want it to last. I have made jigs out of cardboard, I have made them out of cardstock, I've made them out of MDF and wood, I've also made them out of acrylic. It just depends on the usage case, and again, how long you want it to last. One of my favorite go-to materials for jigs is actually 1/8 inch MDF. I got mine from a lumber supplier when I was in Las Vegas and I had moved it with me. But you can check out a local lumber supplier for this kind of material, or you can check it out online as well. So my sheet is 12 inches by 24 inches, which is the same size as my artboard here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this design and I'm gonna hold down the Alt key as well as the Shift key on my keyboard. And I'm going to drag down a copy of that coaster. And I'm gonna do it again. And you'll see I want it to be about equally spaced, and the guides will pick that up right there. And you'll see that I'm a little low on both of these. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to drag them up a little bit, and I'm actually going to drag each one of these individually up a little bit, just so that I don't have too flimsy of a piece around the edges. I find that it's very important to get the spacing in between them correct, as well as around the border correct, because you don't want it to snap easily, and you don't want items to run into each other either. Thankfully, with coasters like these, you're not gonna have them be too far apart. You can get them pretty close together, and they're not gonna hit each other. Then I go ahead and highlight all of them. I will hold down the Alt key, start dragging, and then hold Shift. This will lock it to go parallel, and I will make a copy of it. I'll then grab all of them, do it again, and then I'll do it one more time to fill the sheet. Once I've made that jig, I actually make that its own layer. So I'll go into layers, create a new one. I'm gonna call it jig. You can do this ahead of time. You don't have to do it after the fact. Once I've made my new layer, I'm going to click on that new layer, and then I'm gonna right click one of my objects, go down to arrange and say send to current layer. This will allow me to turn that off without affecting the designs themselves. Here's the step that I see most people make mistakes or struggle with, and that is aligning your design to those outlines and have them be consistent time after time after time. What usually ends up happening is you'll align all of your stuff, you'll make the jig, you'll use it once, you'll come back a week or two later, you'll go to make new designs, you'll try to center it and line everything up, you'll end up moving things in the design on accident, and then your jig will not work the way it's intended to and things will be off center. I'm going to show you how to fix that. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to grab my first design here, hold down the shift key on my keyboard and click the first circle. After this, I'm going to go over here on the right to my alignment tool. And you'll see in the bottom right hand corner, there is a tool called Align to Key Object. Click on this. You'll see that currently the actual design becomes kind of bold and more red. All you have to do is click on the outline and make that one the one that's bold and red. Then you can select the center vertically and center horizontally, and notice that the design moved to that object and that the actual boundary did not move at all. You will repeat this process for all of these. So I'm going to click on my design, click on my object, same thing, align to key object, select that circle and align it. This is how I do all of mine. There are probably 10 different ways that you can accomplish this same task, but I have found that this one is the easiest for me. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to finish selecting these. You can also batch them out in a way. So if I click on two designs and select my border, I can then do the key object, click on that outline, and I can align all of them vertically to the center or horizontally to the center at once. It saves maybe one click. It's not super efficient that way, but it is a way to save some time if you're batching out the whole page. So real quick, I'm just going to align all of these, and there we go. If I need to move a design, say that I want to take this design a week from now and move it to the right-hand side of this jig, I would do the same thing. I'd select that one, select one of these circles, make one my key object, and then align them. This is a super simple way to make everything aligned without affecting your jig at all. You don't have to lock layers, you don't have to make duplicates of objects or try to fight with aligning them or anything like that. This I have found is the most efficient way for me to be able to do this. And then what we're gonna do is send this over to the laser. When I do this, there's an important step here. So first I'm gonna send it. I don't have the laser on yet, so the camera won't appear, but I wanna show you what I do on the actual laser software side. So for this video, I am using an Epilog maker that is a 30-watt RF tube machine. You will see that over on the right-hand side, I have it auto separating the colors. So I have a black one and a red one. For the black, I'm going to be engraving cork. I do have a setting for this on this machine where it's engraving at 300 DPI. It's 100% speed, 40% power, and I'm going to actually engrave it from the bottom up. I do not want to engrave it right away though, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off. This makes it so that this won't actually send to the machine yet, and I can send over just the cutting first. For the red, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to click the vector, and I'm going to be cutting 1/8 inch wood. You'll see that on this one, it says my power will be 100%, speed 15%, and frequency 20%. This is a built-in one with the machine. So we're gonna go ahead and try that out and see if it works. Now here's the trick to using these jigs. You first have to make the jig and then you can set things in it to engrave them. This is why I have turned off the engraving and I'm gonna send over the cutting first. The most important thing about making a jig like this is making sure that you have a reference point. In the maker, I have rulers set up that are standard on the machine that give it a hard stop in both the X and the Y direction. If you do not have that in your machine, you need to make that in your machine and make sure that it never moves. Otherwise, your jig will essentially be useless and you'll have to remake it or spend a lot of time trying to figure out where it was supposed to align. The second thing that I do with my jigs is I find the top left corner and I will put a star or a circle or some kind of marker to tell me that this is the top left corner of the jig. You can even write on it, say TL for top left, whatever makes you feel better so that you will remember it in the future. Because the whole point of these jigs is that you can make a stack of them for all of your different products. You can put them on a shelf and you'll instantly know which corner is supposed to be the top left. If you don't do that and you just try to rely on how this is positioned, most of the jigs might be symmetrical, but I wouldn't count on it working out that way, because if you use a rough cut piece of material like I am, it's not laser cut. It is a saw blade that cut it. The chances of this being exactly the right 12-inch by 24-inch dimension to make it symmetrical are pretty much slim to none. Now that I've got the material set up with the top left corner and my design is ready, I'm going to send it over to the laser and we're gonna cut the jig out. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the machine and let that boot up, and then we'll go ahead and cut out the jig and I'll show you what to do. Before I get into the next steps of using a jig, I do wanna give a shout out to my sponsor for this video, Epilog Laser. I have been using Epilog lasers for over a decade and have found them to be one of the best lasers on the market. As I mentioned before, I'm actually using the Epilog Fusion Maker 30-watt RF tube laser in this video. This laser is a great entry point into running a laser business. They are built for production runs, they are built for reliability, and that machine will last you well over a decade. I know people that have been running their machines for over 20 years, some even longer than that. And the best part about Epilog lasers is they will help support your machinery as long as they can. The part that really sold me on Epilog lasers is I bought my first machine used from another owner, and when I called Epilog and asked for support, they were happy to help me. They didn't charge me for support like that. And that is really what sold me on using them from then on. Right now they have a sale going on their website at epiloglaser.com. If you click on their sale banner, you can see the specials that they have. They have specials for both the Edge and the Pro that end on November 29th. They also have a sale on the Galvo G100 that does end on October 31st, which may be over by the time this video comes out. But be sure to check with your distributors and see what kind of deals they might have at the time that you are looking. But I want to give a huge shout out to Epilog Laser, because without their support, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of the videos that I create for my channel. So with that, let's head back over and work on the jig. Now that I've cut the jig, I've gone ahead and put coasters into some of the slots. And I want to show you something that I do in order to be a little bit more efficient, but also highlight how I can put these in any area of the jig and they will come out centered. So first up, over on the left, I have the designs in black that will all engrave together at the same time. And then I have one in blue that's off in the distance. What I'm going to do is send these over to the dashboard. When it comes into the dashboard, you will see that it has separated it into that additional color. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the red because I am done cutting this. I'm going to go ahead and pick my Cork coaster settings for the blue, and you'll see that that's 300 DPI, 100% speed, and 40% power. I'm going to do that from the bottom up. Same thing for the black. The main difference here is this will engrave in the order that they are shown color-wise. If I have the blue first, the blue will engrave first. If I have the black first, the black will engrave first. I'm going to put the black first. So as you watch the video, you'll see that the black columns will engrave. And then once those are done, the blue one will engrave. The reason why this is important is you can separate your design into different colors per row or per column, and then you can actually engrave them one section at a time to try to increase speed. It gets rid of a lot of that wasted movement in between those items. Once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go ahead and hit print, send it over to the laser, and let's go watch it engrave. And that's how you create and use a jig. So here are some of the designs. Might take a minute to come into focus. Here's another one. So you can see that these all worked really well. They did align exactly how I designed them. One quick tip, after I have cut the jig, even though I've marked the top left corner with a circle for top left, you can also see that I will write on that corner what the jig is for. The reason I do this is some of them are so close in dimensions, they might just be slightly off, that you'll want to make sure that you're grabbing the correct one. If you can make a jig that works for multiple products at once, that's even better. That usually requires a lot more forethought, but the more things you can use a jig for, the better off you're gonna be. And by making that out of MDF material, not only is it stable and it will remain flat, it will not warp like plywood does. It will also last quite a while. So I can use this, stack it on the shelf, come back to it a year from now, which I have done before, and then use it again. But hopefully this video has been helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so that you know when I come out with new videos. If you have ideas for future videos, go ahead and put those in the comments below. And go ahead and check out my Instagram @MakerExperiment, where I share things along the way. But thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I'll see you in the next one.